What's up, Packers fans? Happy game day. Welcome into this live pregame edition of the Pack-A-Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can follow the podcast at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk Packers. Fun game today with the LA Rams. Hopefully a fun game. Game that I think Green Bay really needs to come out with a win with and, find a way to get a victory. This is an interesting situation. You got the Doubs thing in the background. You're 2-2 to start the season. You're going up against a Rams team you should theoretically beat. They've had some of these setback games on the West Coast from time to time. You just got to go in. And my final key to today's game on the pregame show, the non-live pregame show, was just go in and take care of business. And at the end of the day, this is one of those where I don't really care a ton if it's a 1-point win or a 20-point win. Just go in, get the win, get this thing headed in the right direction, put the Romeo Doubs thing hopefully behind you, hopefully get him back this week and just kind of reset everything, right? I think that would be the ideal situation. But it's not a must-win game. I don't think that is the case at all. But this is one that you want to get into LA, pick up a win, get out, go home, and then get ready for Arizona next week. So that is the job that Green Bay has in front of them today. We'll get to your questions right away. Obviously, I've got I've got Vikings Jets going on right now. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that game as well. Danny S., if we ended up having to trade Romeo, what draft capital do you think we could actually get for him? That's a really interesting and great question. My guess, my overall guess is that they figure out a way to work this out with Romeo and they keep him on the team this season. And then they maybe reevaluate the wide receiver position in the offseason, understanding that, hey, they're probably going to need to draft somebody just to kind of get that revolving door of young wide receivers going and making sure that they can kind of bring in that next generation of talented wideouts, because after next year, you're going to have Doubs and Watson be free agents. And then the year after that, then Wicks and Reed. And then you've got Heath and Melton that you're going to have to make decisions on at some point. So I think they're probably going to want to bring somebody in. So they could look at in the offseason of like, hey, do we want to move one of these receivers now? Maybe pick up a draft pick that we could use on a wide receiver again to keep getting younger and keep the young talented wide receivers coming in. But I think he'll stay on the team this year is my initial thought. I wouldn't guarantee that. I think there is a legitimate world in which they trade Romeo. I don't think that's out of the question at all. But if they were to trade him in this season, my guess is that they would really want a player in return. I think Goody understands that this is a team that's ready to win right now, and trading Romeo Doubs away and just picking up some sort of 4th-round pick or 3rd-round pick or whatever you could get for him is probably not what's going to ultimately help you right now. Now, whether that is a trade of maybe disgruntled wide receivers and you trade Doubs to a team and it's a like-for-like swap, or whether maybe you pick up a corner or a linebacker, another pass rusher, whatever it might be, I think that's probably what you look at a little bit more rather than just trying to get some sort of draft pick that doesn't do anything to help you right now. So I think he stays on the team. I don't think they trade him. That's my initial thought. Don't think it's impossible that they trade him. But I think that they would probably go for a player for player swap if they did do something like that. Good question though. Nitty gritty. Thank you for the super chat. As always, super chats will go right to the top of the list. So if you want to make sure your question gets asked or answered, definitely make sure to do it in super chat form. And then I will obviously get to as many questions as I can outside of that. Do you think if the pass rush does not show up today that they might try to address it before the trade deadline? I don't know that it would just be today. I think they have, a couple weeks left. When is the NFL trade deadline? NFL trade deadline date is November 5th. So they have a month yet. So I don't think that they would make this immediate reaction just to today's game of like, the pass rush isn't working. Let's go get somebody right now. But I do think they would take the next month. And if there, are injuries that take place, if they eventually have to put Wyatt on IR, if it ends up looking worse than they expected or whatever it might be, and a pass rusher becomes available, I think they would definitely look at it. If there were another injury in there, if Preston Smith or Rashawn Gary or LVN or Enigbari were to go down, or Kenny Clark, heaven forbid, if something like that would happen, I think they'd look at it as well. But I think this next month will be very telling as to whether or not this pass rush can continue as is, or if they do need to potentially make a move. It's not good enough right now. We did see one about 2-quarter stretch against the Titans where it looked pretty darn good. 8 sacks in a game is always super impressive. Some of that was off of blitzing, of course, but these guys need to win up front with their 4-man rush, and that hasn't happened. And if they can't do that, then yes, you would have to look at trying to maybe acquire something to juice up that pass rush a little bit. But you have to remember, Like if they are they going to, get into the Hassan Reddick mess? Like, what does he want? He wants a huge new contract. I don't see Green Bay doing that. And, they could make or have a conversation with his agent of like, hey, we just want you for the rest of this year to bring you in. That's what the Jets wanted. The Jets just wanted a 1-year thing. Just like, hey, we're just going to rent you for a year. That Reddick and his agent said, yep. And then he got there. He's like, nah, actually, I want a new contract. And now they're in this no man's land. So I don't think you want to get in that mess. Even if you get a word from their agent, you can't trust it because they just kind of screwed over the Jets with that. So I don't think you want it in that situation. You certainly don't want to trade for him and then give him a huge contract. That's not what Green Bay is going to be looking for. And then who else would become available? I think that would have to play a part in it as well. So injuries, lack of production, who's available, what type of contract they would want or have. I think those are all things that would ultimately go into that conversation as Aaron Rodgers gets sacked again. This Jets offense does not look very comfortable against this Vikings defense whatsoever. Seen a lot of disappointed Rodgers today. Don't miss that. He's always been somebody that wears his emotions on his sleeve. You can tell exactly what Aaron Rodgers is thinking by his facial expressions. That is for sure. And he is not having a fun game in this one. Took a lower leg hit there. Looks like he's fine. That injury earlier did not look great. Now, let's talk about the Aaron Jones thing as well, right? Like, first and foremost, I hope Aaron Jones is back next week. Obviously, we're not wishing an injury upon anyone, but this is the gambit that basically Brian Gutekunst made, right? There was never a question of, is Aaron Jones not right for the locker room? Everyone knows that he was like the consummate guy in the locker room and that he was like the perfect Packer. It wasn't, is this guy still talented? Everyone knew how talented he was. It wasn't even like, oh, look at their signs of decline because he played some of his best football at the end of last year. He was awesome. So it wasn't any of those things. We all knew Aaron Jones is an amazing person, amazing locker room guy, amazing running back, and still playing phenomenal football. The gambit that Brian Gutekunst played was, hey, I know all of that, but I just think there's going to be too much time lost due to injury. Like that's my concern. I don't think he can hold up to the rigors of a 17-game schedule. And I think we're going to have too many games where we don't have Aaron Jones to make it worth it. Now, I don't know. Maybe Jones, I know he's out for the remainder of this game. Maybe he's back next week and he misses 2 quarters, 3 quarters of this game. And that's the only time he misses all year. Maybe. Or maybe it's a longer term injury. We don't know at this point. He's ruled out of the game, which is never a good sign. But that's sort of the bet that Goody was playing of like, love the guy. I wish he was here, but I don't think he's going to be able to stay healthy. We saw 3 different injuries a season ago. And those are the signs that you have of an aging running back with wear and tear. Now Minnesota gets him in. He looks fantastic as all expected, but now he's hurt. And now how long he is out will be a huge part in, does that contract pay off for Minnesota? And again, I hope he's back. I hope he's a phenomenal player. The NFL is better with Aaron Jones out there playing. But again, this is the reason why Brian Gutekunst went in the direction of getting a younger, hopefully more durable running back in Josh Jacobs. All right, we got Dennis coming in hot. Saw some report that Doubs is expected back next week. Yeah, that's the expectation. That's, it was in sort of the press release from the Packers as well, that they are, looking forward to continuing with Romeo next week. And I do think that that's probably the expectation. Now, they're still going to have to work some things out, right? Because they were expecting him to be at practice on Friday. He wasn't. Now, maybe they had some resolution on Saturday morning of what's going to be the expectation moving forward and everyone's ready to move on and they suspend him the 1 week and it's all clear from here. That's within the realm of possibility, right? But they're going to have to figure some things out. And, Romeo might have to earn his spot back. Like that wide receiver group is not exactly, barren with talent. Like they have guys that are out there trying to do everything in their power to get snaps. And if Doubs is going to be any sort of issue or whatever, or if maybe they're just going to set precedents of like, hey, this is the way you're going to act. You're going to start at wide receiver 6 next week and you're going to have to work your way back up. I don't know. Or it could just be like this never happened and Doubs is back in the rotation per usual, gets his snaps, he's positive moving forward. And just like Jair last year, everyone moves past it and it is better from it. Like hopefully that's the case. But I don't think that we can sit here today on Sunday and just be like, yep, situation's behind us. Everything's good now. Hopefully that's the case. Fingers crossed. But I think this next week will be very telling. Hopefully he's out at practice on Wednesday and there's no concerns there. And, we'll kind of take it from there. But I think this next week we'll see exactly where things with Romeo and Green Bay stand. And then next week during the game, what's his rotation within it? Does he get his normal amount of snaps? Is he the top snapped wide receiver like he has been? Or does he have to sort of earn his way back into that rotation? Those will be the things that I think are very interesting to keep an eye on through the course of this week. All right. Where the heck did this Vikings team come from? Literally nobody expected this in the offseason. Here's the thing, right? The reason that nobody expected the Vikings was because of the quarterback position. They lost Kirk Cousins. They bring in JJ McCarthy, and then they bring in Sam Darnold as a stopgap quarterback 1 year. Hey, we need a starter while McCarthy gets ready. McCarthy looks great in camp and in his first preseason action. There's legitimate conversation as to, could he eventually, like, when will he become the starter? Not if he will become the starter, but when. And then he goes down with the injury, and you're thinking, all right, like, it's Sam Darnold. Maybe you get some decent play out of him. The offense is super tailored to a quarterback. Like, they make it pretty easy for the quarterback in that offense. Kevin O'Connell does an amazing job, but just how good can Sam Darnold be? That was the question mark. Aaron Jones at running back, Jefferson and Addison at wide receiver. They haven't even gotten Hawkinson back at tight end yet. Really great offensive tackles in O'Neal and Darisaw. This pass rush. I love the fact that they went out and got Grenard and Van Ginkel. And then obviously they get Dallas Turner as well. Like, I think the secondary was the question mark and the quarterback was a question mark. Well, Brian Flores has put a defense together that has made it so that his secondary doesn't have to cover for very long. And their big thing is tackling, and they do that very, very well. And the quarterback position with Sam Darnold has been far, far better than I think anyone, maybe even the Minnesota Vikings, could have expected. So you all of a sudden have a team that was good outside of quarterback and maybe secondary. And now the quarterback plays out of his mind better, like to the extent that nobody saw coming. And you have a secondary that, again, Brian Flores is doing a great job of minimizing their impact on the game. Man, you all of a sudden have a very good recipe for success. And we're seeing that. We'll see if they can finish out this one. They have a 7-point lead on the Jets right now, but it is still impressive one way or the other. The beatdown on the Texans, the win against the Niners, win against Green Bay, and going up 28-0. And now, they had the Jets 17-0. It's 17-10 now. They're probably going to have a pretty, if they don't convert this, they're going to have a big field goal coming up to make this a 2-score game. And if they would miss, they would give the Jets the ball with good field position. So this is a huge third down right here. 3rd and 8, incomplete. So no penalty on that one. Minnesota has definitely been the benefactor of some penalties, some DPIs, and some holdings in this one. But there's a big field goal coming up here for Minnesota. They make it. It's 2 scores, and they're probably in an opportunity to win this one. They miss it. And again, Jets ball down 7 with great field position. So it's a big field goal coming up here. Showing the Packers game for the 2nd week in a row in KC today was well short of fun last week. Yeah, it was not a fun game last week, but happy that you get the game in your home area, Dennis. Enjoy the game today. Going to be a Packers home game. I think so too, or at least it's not going to feel like a road game. Kick is up, and hey, look at that. Kickers make field goals for other teams. That must be nice. 2010 Vikings take a 2-score lead with 12 minutes left. Aaron Rodgers and that Jets offense are going to have to get something going pretty quick if they want to try to find a way to pull this one out. Josh Jacobs stat predictions: 25-117, first Packers touchdown. I'll take it. Over a 4-yard average with a touchdown and the ability to stay balanced through the course of the game with 25 carries. I would assume if we see a stat line like that for Josh Jacobs, it's probably going to be a win for Green Bay. Brian, very worried about today. The sports books are taking a ton of money on the Packers, and the line isn't budging off of 3. I do think this is an interesting one. If you're looking for reasons to be pessimistic, I mean, Green Bay was very much in this situation a season ago. Lost a big time NFC North game in week 4 last year against Detroit, where they did not look good at all. This week, lost a big time week 4 game against an NFC opponent where, at least early in the game, they did not look good at all. You go West Coast last year to Vegas in expecting to be like, all right, you know what? That's not a good Vegas team. Pick up a win, get things back on track. This week, you go to LA, West Coast, pick up a game, hopefully get back on track. Last year, they lost to Vegas. Hopefully history does not repeat itself. You've got the distraction. Listen, in Bill Huber's initial article, he took it out, but there was a piece in there about they overheard something at practice of how Matt LaFleur was saying, don't let this be a distraction, something to that extent. He then took that out. My guess is because one of the things you're not allowed to do from a credentialed standpoint is quote coaches on the practice field. So my guess is he kind of recognized it and took it out. Not trying to throw Bill under the bus here by any means, but my point in bringing that up is you like as a coach, you can tell when like these things have the ability to maybe fester, become a distraction. And he's well aware of like, this is hey, we got to go and take care of things game. And you don't want this thing to fester. You don't want it to, manifest itself in any other way. So hopefully they can just put the Romeo thing to the side. They can go out to LA, get this win. That's why I said, kind of in the pregame show, and I just mentioned it a little bit ago on this as well. This is just a take care of business game. It's not this game that you have to go out and win by 20 or whatever. Just go on the road. It's a game you're expected to win. Just find the win. I don't care if it takes whatever. If you have to hold on for dear life at the end and get a 1-point win, so be it. Get the win, get out of LA, get back home against the Cardinals next week, and again, get this thing going a little bit more on track. So that's what I'm looking for in this one. I think anytime you play in a game where you're expected to win, there's always a little bit more nerves. When you go into a game where you're expected to lose, or, it's maybe more of a coin flip, you're like, all right, let's see what they got. Let's see if they can do this. There's always a little bit more pressure and anxiety against a team, especially on the road where you're just expected to take care of business. And I think this is a game like this. This is a game they should win. We've seen Green Bay shoot themselves in the foot far too many times. I'm more apt to think that this is the game where Green Bay limits their mistakes and we see this team play a better brand of football. And if that happens, I think Green Bay just wins easily. But Rams will put up a fight. I really believe that. And hopefully Vegas just has this one wrong and Green Bay wins easily. Is it just me, or is SoFi a beautiful stadium to play? Yeah, I think it's a good aesthetic. I mean, it's a gorgeous stadium. So no, I don't think it's just you, B Timmy. Think we could get Higgins. I don't think they want any big time contract wide receiver. I don't think they want anything to do with that, to be honest. They have a cheat code right now where they've got a stable of super talented young wide receivers that are making no money. And I think they're going to want to keep it that way. Not to mention that, you bring in somebody like that and it sort of upsets the like biological order of this wide receiver group, where you have guys, especially like a Jaden Reed that's coming into his own, Dontavian Wicks, who has all the talent in the world, Doubs, Watson, etc. And, you have this really fun young group of wide receivers that need snaps to play. Jordan Love has no pressure to like get the ball into one specific player's hands. He can spread the ball where it needs to go. And that's, I think, a great way to play. I think you bring in T. Higgins, it completely upsets your salary cap at the wide receiver position and changes that dynamic. Now you have a guy that wants to be the alpha, the guy. Jordan might feel a little bit more pressured. It could, limit the snaps of some of your younger wide receivers that need those snaps to continue to progress. I would be stunned / shocked if Green Bay makes any sort of play for any sort of wide receiver like that. Now, if they traded Romeo Doubs to the Bills or the Chiefs or something like that, could they get a lesser man? Aaron Rodgers takes another sack and he's down for a second, but no, he's getting back up. Could they take back a wide receiver, like a lesser wide receiver? This is not going to happen, but like, could they take back an MVS in the trade just to get that number 6 wide receiver spot still filled, and then also pick up like a pick in the trade, or maybe a different position player in the trade? Could they do something like that where they get a wide receiver that's going to be in the mix, but not one of the key guys? Yeah, they could do that, but I don't see any situation where you have, a big time wide receiver that's coming back to Green Bay. Trade Doubs in a second for Brandon Aubrey. Sign me the hell up. I think I would probably take that with the ability and the way that Brandon Aubrey is kicking right now. Hello from Poland, Andy. Hello, baby QB. Do you think the Vikings get beat this weekend? No. They are up 20-10 on the Jets right now, and the Jets have the ball. It's 3rd and 13. No, I think Minnesota pulls this one out. All right. I think I missed a couple super chats. Sorry about that. She said, Joey, I think Jacobs gets his first touchdown today, and sorry for missing your first super. She said, Joey, my apologies for that. But I think there's a really good chance of that happening as well. Whether it's through the air, through the ground, I think he's going to get the ball a decent amount in this game. They've had success running against the Rams in the past. I think we'll see that again today. And I do think there's a really great chance that Jacobs gets his first touchdown in Green Bay, or for Green Bay. Can we go out and dominate the Rams team today? Seems to me this week is an opportunity to win in convincing fashion and see that complementary offense and defense. Thoughts? Like I just kind of said, is that a PI? Ooh, not a PI, man. It feels like the Vikings got that call all day long and the Jets don't get it there. Yeah, I would love to see that. Most hated Minnesotan. I would love to see this team go out and play that brand of complementary football and not make mistakes. I'm more willing to sign up just for a win in this one by any means necessary. But if they can go out and play their brand of football, I do absolutely believe that this could be a game that Green Bay wins in convincing fashion. So let's hope we see it. I think they're due to just kind of break out and stop making their own personal mistakes that lead to them being in games that are closer than they should be, or losing games that maybe they shouldn't lose. So let's see if Green Bay can go out and play that clean brand of football that we've been wanting them to see. And if they do that, I do think Green Bay covers the spread easily on this one. All right. Spencer Geller, thank you for the super chat. How confident are you in our wide receiver room going in today, considering Doubs and Watson's absence? I'm super confident, no concerns whatsoever. And I think it's fair to say with Andrew Beck being added to the roster, Luke Musgrave probably out in this game as well. We don't know that for sure yet. The inactives will come out a little bit later, but my guess is Musgrave is out, and I still have unbelievable confidence. First of all, your ideal 11 personnel in this game is Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and, probably Bo Melton or Malik Heath. That's fantastic. I have no concern. That's a really good 11 personnel offense. You've got a really good running back, a do-it-all tight end, a route running extraordinaire in Dontavian Wicks, a speed guy in Bo Melton, and your Jaden Reed, who's been their star wide receiver, their star offensive player so far. So that's a fantastic 11 personnel. You go to 12 personnel. I've actually sort of been calling a little bit, sort of quietly, but for more Ben Sims playing time. I think he's a more well-rounded tight end actually than Musgrave. Now, Musgrave gives you more juice, more run after the catch, but Sims is a much better blocker than Musgrave. And I actually think he's more dynamic and is a better receiver than he gets credit for. So I'm actually sort of excited to see a little bit more Ben Sims in this one. I think you actually get a true H-back, fullback type and Andrew Beck if you want to do any of that. Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, a really great 1-2 punch now at wide receiver, at running back and at wide receiver. You're not really going any 4 wide anyway. That's not been something Green Bay's done a ton of. And even if they need to, again, if you want to go with all 4 of those guys out there at the same time, I'm confident in all 4 of those guys. So no, I have zero concerns whatsoever. Super confident. And I think last year at the end of the year when Bo Melton got these opportunities, he tore it up. Like, I think there's an opportunity where we could see Bo Melton return to form and we could see some big numbers from him today. So no concerns. And in fact, very confident in this wide receiver group. A win is a win, but 30-17 would go a long way in easing some early season concerns for this team and hopefully less sloppy. I think you hit the nail on the head with that second part, John Florida, I'm assuming. Just limit the mistakes. We want to see a better, cleaner brand of football. And sometimes you have to tip your cap to the other team as well. If the Rams go out and execute and do their job, listen, could they stay in this and make it close? Matthew Stafford's a very good quarterback. They've got some young, good playmakers on that defensive front. Yeah, sure. But I want to see this team not beat itself, put themselves in positions to be successful, make your damn kicks, and go out and get this win. And to your point, if they can go and do that with limiting mistakes, I like Green Bay's chances to well cover the spread. But as I mentioned a few times now, sign me up just for a victory by any means necessary, and they're going to just be fine. You can't have a letdown game here. You can't have a loss. I think the first 5 games of this season, as you're, a little less than a third of the way through, if you're 2-3 coming off a really rough loss to the Rams, man, it does have a totally different connotation to it. Not to mention you'd be 0-3 with Jordan at quarterback, which would not be ideal. So get the win in this one. That's the key. Don't really care about the sexy points. Just get the win by any means necessary. All right. Trade Romeo for a kicker. I'm kidding. Well, mostly. Listen, if you can get a great kicker for Romeo, I think almost everyone would probably sign up for that right now. Hoping offseason acquisitions for the pass rush aren't just another 3-year project first rounder. I don't know where to come down on this for Green Bay. It does feel like their free agent. Ooh, that's a huge pick for the Jets. Bad throw by Sam Darnold. If New York's got a chance to get back in, it has to be now. I do feel like Green Bay's done a really good job overall in identifying talent, especially on day 2 and 3 of the draft. Like, they're getting big time players in again, day 2 and 3, they're finding free agents like Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs. We've seen it in the past as well. Like, they can identify good free agents. They can find guys off of practice squads. They can find guys on the street. Like, they are very adept at finding talent. If there's one thing that hasn't worked out as much, it's these project players, right? Now, to that end, up until maybe the last, couple months of his play, Rashawn Gary was a very good developmental player that turned out well. Now, hasn't been great as of late, but for a while there, definitely looked that way. And Jordan Love was a phenomenal project player that turned out, unbelievable. So it's not all bad, but you're hoping for more from Quay Walker. And the other thing too is, like, we can look at Devontae White was not supposed to be a project player. He was a 24-year-old rookie that was supposed to be able to come in and play right away and maybe even dominate right away, but that didn't take place. So, but I think Quay Walker, LVN, Jordan, we'll see with Jordan Morgan. I think he's able to play pretty much right away. I don't know how much of a complete project player that he is, but some of these guys need to live up a little bit more to the expectations. And I do think they may have to reevaluate the first round project player just a little bit and maybe go out and start getting some guys that can help them right away. I do think there's probably something to that, but we know the Green Bay way, and I don't know that it's going to be changed super easily. Donald Jackson, last year, many mentioned Doubs is the leader of a very young wide receiver room. How do you believe this latest episode impacts that? Is there someone else who could fill that role if necessary? Yeah, I think Jaden Reed can absolutely take that role, and I think he is an emotional leader of that group. And I don't know, to answer the first part, I don't know how this is going to affect that dynamic. I think if he comes back and apologizes to the team and comes back motivated and said, hey, I had a lapse in judgment. That's on me. I'm all about the team. I'm going to be blocking for you guys, doing everything necessary. I'm not worried about my catches or my yards. I'm worried about how the team does. If he comes back, he can be a great example to the other guys of learning your lesson. And hopefully guys like Wicks and Reed and Heath and the other ones can kind of learn from his mistake. It's always better if you can learn from somebody else's mistake rather than having to learn from your own. So if he can, come back from this and show that he was in the wrong and he's on the right path now, then awesome. Then he can still be a leader for those guys. But if this manifests itself in other ways, or he is disgruntled still and it's showing, then again, Green Bay is going to have to do something different. And no, he probably could not be the leader in that situation. Is that picked off? No, incomplete. Man, it looked like Rodgers had a better option on that play. That was a tight throw, double coverage to, it looks like Conklin. Yeah, Conklin, incomplete. Rodgers looking brittle. I mean, he took some big time hits in this one, but yes, he does not look that's a pretty ball though. My goodness. He does not look super great, but I think again, he was banged up coming into this game and he's taken 1,000 hits in this one. So probably not the ideal matchup for him against Minnesota with him being a little bit banged up. Andy, what does LaFleur reply to questions about Doubs this week? We should find out today. I think we'll get questions from the media today about Romeo Doubs, and we'll see what he says. My guess is it's probably pretty status quo of we've addressed it. We suspended Romeo for a game. Our expectation is that Romeo is going to come back and and get back within this wide receiver group and be Romeo next week. I think it's very simple and just what their expectations are. So that'd be my guess. My guess is he doesn't go into too much detail and he probably keeps it rather simple. Did he get the free play? No, but he got the big completion over the middle. So Jets driving down to the 8-yard line, 1st and goal, down by 10, 8 minutes left. Matt Fralick, good to see you, buddy. Go Pack, go. What was done to fix the kicker this week? No idea. It sounds like there was maybe a plant foot issue. So hopefully they got that a little bit cleaned up and they can, make those adjustments moving forward. And hopefully we see Narveson go out and crush it today. Want to see a locked in offense today and a tight defense for 4 quarters? I want that every week, Chris. Sign me up for that every single week. In a locker room interview, Reed talked about putting the team's needs before his own. I feel like we knew about the Doubs situation and made sure someone stepped up to lead the wide receiver room. Yeah, I think Jaden Reed can absolutely be that leader in the locker room. He's an impressive dude in person, super mature. I talked to him in the locker room last year as a rookie, and he was already massively impressive. Felt like he was a 10-year veteran. So just a really cool dude and definitely somebody that's ready to, step up and take that mantle if need be. Romeo's agent definitely was calling teams, telling them to trade for him. His teams were calling so soon. Yeah, I don't know about that purple pill. First of all, I'm not exactly sure the wording here. Second of all, I don't know how involved his agent was with other teams and things like that. Tyree, any reservation about the fact that we've had back-to-back seasons where we've had to suspend a player? How often is this done by other teams? I have no reservation with it pending what happens. They addressed it with Jair last year. I thought both the Packers and Jair were better for it. And I thought that was a really great step for both sides. This year, we'll see what happens with Romeo. And if that happens the same way and they have the suspension and he learns from it and they all are able to move on, then great. It's probably not the best optics in the world, but sometimes those tools are there at your disposal for situations exactly like this, where sometimes you need to send a message and get players going in the right direction. This is not, NFL football is not this perfect utopia. There are going to be disgruntled players. There are going to be unhappy players with their role within the offense or the defense. These are things that you have to manage every single year. There are different personalities, guys who deal with different things in different ways. There is no perfect handbook for how to handle all of this. And if it takes a suspension from time to time where you have to set the tone and make it known of like, hey, this isn't acceptable, assuming that they learn from that, the player learns from that and the team can move on in a positive direction, then the tools were used in the right way and it's no harm, no foul. But if it doesn't, and if all of a sudden, or we start seeing more and more of this where you have to keep suspending players, like, yeah, if all of a sudden now there's a couple more of these in the next 12 months or something, it really is not great. But so far, I think the suspensions have worked out as needed. They've used the tool the way that it's supposed to be used, and it's worked out. So hopefully that's the case this week with Romeo as well. The McPain train. I hope Romeo will be back to normal next week. Feels weird since he never said stuff like this before. Yeah, I'm right there with you. And that is incomplete. Pass interference, 1st and goal, Jets from the 1 yard line. Yeah, I think that's everyone's hope is that Romeo will come back better and ready to play. And, and this was just a one-off. It does feel very odd and weird. As mentioned, he was, what did I put? Let me just bring this up really quick. He is 3rd in targets on the team, but only 2 behind Wicks and Reed. So 20 targets for Doubs, 22 for Reed, 22 for Wicks. He is 2nd on receptions behind only Jaden Reed. He is 1st in routes run by a wide receiver, and he is 1st in wide receiver snaps, 224, almost 42 more than Jaden Reed. So he's out there for more. He is running more routes on passing plays than any other wide receiver. And by the way, not that this again is I want to see what PFF has as well, but give me 1 second here. Rodgers looking, throwing, touchdown. Garrett Wilson. We've got a game, 6 minutes left. All right. So, sorry, wrong Excel spreadsheet here. My apologies, guys. Sorry, I know this is not great for podcasting and viewing. All right, so Romeo Doubs so far this year is my lowest graded wide receiver on the team with a plus 0.2, coming off a week where he was my lowest graded player on the team with a negative 0.5. So it's not like he's that far off. Like Jaden Reed's at a plus 4.95. And then after that, you've got Melton with a plus 0.5. You've got Heath plus 0.35, Watson and Wicks with plus 0.3, and then Doubs plus 0.2. So it's mostly like everyone else is in the same cluster. And then Jaden Reed is just way out on top. Let's see what see where PFF has him. Green Bay wide receiver. So they have Reed at a 79.1. So they're very similar to me. Then they have Watson and Doubs. So Watson 63.9, Doubs 62.6. Then they have Wicks and Melton at 58.1 and Heath at 56.9. So it's basically Reed and then kind of everyone else. And that's where I have it as well. They have a slightly different order after Reed. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that Doubs hasn't exactly gone out there and torn it up either. So he needs to play better, and Green Bay needs him to play better, and he needs to be a focal point, or he not a focal point, but he needs to be a player that they can trust within this offense. So hopefully I'm with you. Hopefully they can get it corrected and he can get back to normal because he has a role within this team. Romeo's agent was definitely calling teams, telling them to trade for him with teams calling so soon for a trade. I don't know that we've seen anything. I know this is a redo of the one we read just a second ago, but I don't know that we've seen any confirmation of teams calling about Romeo, unless I could have missed it. It's possible. I was out of pocket almost all day yesterday with bad cell phone service. So I definitely could have missed it, but I haven't seen any reports that teams were already calling for Romeo. But if so, I don't think that's weird if you all of a sudden have a receiver who is disgruntled and suspended, where all of a sudden teams call right away. Like there are teams that are in need of wide receivers, from the Chiefs to the Bills to the Cowboys to, the Raiders. If they lose Devontae, there are a variety of, receiver needy teams that are out there. Go Pack Go. Donald Jackson, how many snaps do you think Colby Wooden will get this week? I think somewhere between 8 and 15 would be my guess. Somewhere in that smallish range. I think we'll see a lot of Slayton, a lot of Brooks, a lot of Clark, and then a smattering of snaps for Colby Wooden. Younger team equals toddler tantrums. Time to grow up. Yeah, we've seen some evidence of them being the youngest team in the league this year. No question about it. From the self mistakes to now a Romeo sort of disgruntled weirdo kind of situation, right? So yeah, hopefully they can get trending in the right direction. That's why I said just pick up a win this week, get back home next week, play against Arizona. Let's start stacking some wins, stop shooting themselves in the foot, and again, start getting some momentum on the season. If lose to the Rams, do we panic? No, I don't think panic is the right word, but it's definitely not a definitely would not be a great sign. And they definitely have to get things turned around in a hurry. But not panic time yet, but definitely a little bit of anxiety, on the season and just not going the way that you would expect it to. But listen, a lot of times the best teams have to go through adversity. Green Bay's seen a lot of adversity through. We're not even through 5 weeks yet, and they've had a lot of injuries. Jordan Love out 2 weeks, a disgruntled wide receiver. Just some weird stuff that's gone on. And if they can come through this on the other side, pick up a win today again, or even if they lose today and come out of it better on the end and learn from all of this, they can be better for it. But it would be it'd be a very disappointing loss today. And all of a sudden you start getting into games against the Cardinals. Like next week becomes almost a must win, right? Not complete panic, but not in a great spot, not where you want to be. Ham, yeah, you certainly want the Jets to come out with this one from an NFC North standpoint. You don't want Minnesota getting out to 5-0 here. So if Minnesota can go 4-1, Green Bay can get to 3-2. You feel a lot better about where the NFC North is standing than if the Jets are 5-0, and we'll see what happens in the Green Bay game. Disagree completely. X, not over. They were way worse a season ago, and they were nowhere near as good of a team. I don't think, especially through the first 8-9 weeks of the season as this team is. A lot of season left. They're 2-3. There's a lot of time to course correct, but it would certainly be disappointing and not a step in the right direction. Jordan Love loses today. He will be 0-4 in his last 4 starts, which is why wins are not a quarterback stat. Looking for Reed, Wicks, Melton, and Heath to take advantage of additional opportunities presented by Doubs' immaturity. They'll step up. I really believe so. I think we'll see. I think especially watch for Bo Melton in this one. Is this a no excuses game for the pass rush, relatively immobile quarterback with top 2 targets out and missing some offensive linemen, by the way? That's another big one. Steve Avila is a very good guard that's out in this one. I think it's a no excuses game for the defensive line. Yes, go out, and show what you're capable of. You need to dominate the trenches in this one for Green Bay. They should, they can, and they need to. So yeah, if they don't perform in this one, I think there's definitely even more cause for concern than what we've seen so far. They need to blitz with Quay and Cooper more. I think that there are opportunities to do that. No question about it. I mean, again, it's tough when you're down 28-0 a week ago to get your blitz packages in. You need some 3rd and long situations, but they're both talented blitzers, especially Edgerrin Cooper. And I do think you need them attacking. So I don't hate the idea. I think you don't want to spam it too much. You don't want to go overboard, but I do think there are opportunities there to get those linebackers blitzing just a little bit more. All right. Packers fought to the playoffs after starting 2-6. Correct. The division is a lot better this year than last year. Correct. But you don't have to win the division to get into the playoffs. Just offensive line is bad. Yeah, it's not been great. And Minnesota just puts so much pressure on you, not just physically, but mentally, where they're going to come from. It is a very difficult defense to go against. And I think we're seeing, that's almost a pick for the Jets, but Sauce out of bounds. Good to see Sauce back in the game, by the way. But yeah, there's definitely some holes. Offensive line play throughout the NFL is not great, and give Green Bay a lot of credit for putting the group they have together, and really, really excited about where Sean Ryan has been at these last couple of weeks. He has looked really, really good. That is a big step for this Packers team. There's by the way, just going back to grades for a moment, on the offensive side of the ball, I have 2 players who are graded in the negative only. Rasheed Walker at -0.4, where if it weren't for the penalties, he would easily be graded in the positive. Now, that's a big if. He's had 6 penalties, right? But he'd be graded well in the positive if it's not for those 6 penalties. And Ben Sims at -0.05. Everyone else for me is graded in the positive. They don't have, usually there's that one guy, right? Usually there's that player where you're like, oh my God, how is this guy a starter? This is ridiculous. Either you don't have the running backs, or, you've got one wide receiver that's clearly just out there as a decoy because you can't throw to them. Or you've got an offensive lineman that is just constantly allowing pressure, whatever it is. Green Bay does not have that guy. They have really good players out there, at least good players that aren't negatives really anywhere. And that is huge for this offense. They're going to be really, really good. Again, they need to stop making some of their own mistakes, but they're a really stacked, talented offense. Reed is the only wide receiver that's on track towards getting a big second contract. Watson injury history, Wicks drops, Doubs mental. I would mostly agree with that, but I think Wicks will very much continue to get himself in that conversation. I think the drops are going to be a one-off. I bet he comes back with a big game today. Or as Aaron Nagler tweeted last week, he's really taking this Davante Adams thing really seriously and having a really bad second year. And as I joked with him on his show this past Monday, listen, if that's what it takes, if Dontavian needs to go out and have just a unbelievably crappy year this year so that he becomes the next Davante Adams and the complete rebirth is complete by doing that, so be it. I guess we'll take a down year from Dontavian this year to become the next Davante Adams in full. But yeah, this is I think Wicks can get there, but I definitely agree with you for the most part that Reed is on the track. And Watson, definitely going to need to show that's a made field goal by the Vikings, up 6, 3 minutes left. Rodgers will get the opportunity to go back down and try to have a game-winning touchdown. So we'll see if he can pull it off. This is one of those interesting scenarios analytically, by the way. I don't know. What was it? What was the fourth down situation there? It was... Sorry, 1 second. I just want to, because this is a fun discussion. Let's see, 4th and 7, right? Yeah, 4th and 7, where or even less than that. No, it's 4th and 7. Yeah, so it's 4th and 7. Analytically, going up 6 is not great because it forces the other team to want to score a game-winning touchdown. Whereas like if you're up by 3, they're more apt to like almost like settle or like just get in field goal range and make it like go extend longer. Like you're incentivizing them to go down the field and beat you using all 4 downs, no matter what, to try to go down and score a touchdown. I would love to see the analytics there of like, there's a decent chance where they actually would have been better going for it on 4th and 7, giving themselves the opportunity to pick up the first down rather than going up 6 and forcing the touchdown. You might think, man, like forcing them to get a touchdown. Now they have to go the length of the field and score in order to lose. If they would kick a game time field goal, you could lose in overtime or whatever. But analytically, it's a very interesting conversation where going, or just having the chance to go for it and maybe putting it away right there on top of the fact that, again, now you're incentivizing them to go put up 7 points and win. Yeah, it's just an interesting conversation. So they chose to kick the field goal. I don't hate it. I probably would have chose the field goal on a 4th and 7 as well. But there are some interesting discussions to be had there of, are you better off just kind of going for it? Are the Packers and the Vikings the only teams with all offensive linemen starters being drafted by the team? Kurt Warner made it sound like an oddity during today's broadcast. That's a great question. There's a good chance that that's probably true. I could probably go through it really quick and look at it, but I don't know that people want to see me go through 32 offensive lines and see if that's the case. But they're both probably rare teams that actually have it that way. Oh, Alan Lazard, you got to catch that ball, buddy. Aaron Rodgers cannot place that any better for you. He's had some drop issues, that's for sure. That's going to be probably Davante Adams' spot in a couple of weeks if you keep dropping those, Alan. Man, that hits you right in the hands, dude. All right, Vikes play just 500 after winning today. They're in the playoffs, 7 more wins, and they may have the number 1 seed. They're playing really good football, but let's see if the Jets can go down and maybe take a win away. And Aaron shaking his head. Got to catch the ball, Alan Lazard. 2-3 is not season defining, so that's not a fact. And 0-4 is the last 4 starts, including a playoff loss from last year. So it's an obscure fact / irrelevant. Mostly agree with that. Most hated Minnesotan. Why do we play the Rams every year? That is a big catch for Garrett Wilson. Ooh, big run after the catch. They're up to the 46-yard line. The schedule is formulaic. So how it works is you play every team in your division twice. All right. So that's 6 of the games right there. You go through the NFC divisions. So the South, the West, and the East every 3 years. So you play the South 1 year, the West 1 year, the East 1 year, the South, the West, the East. I don't know what order it is, but you play a full division once every 3 years. You play a full AFC division once every 4 years. So East, West, North, South, one of those, you play the entire division once every 4 years. You play the 3 teams in the NFC that finished in the same spot that you did. So if Green Bay finished second in the division, they will play the second team from the NFC East, the second team from the NFC South. Well, I should say the 2 divisions that you don't play. So if they play the East, they'll play the team that's in second from the NFC South and second in the NFC West. And then with that additional game that they added, they'll also play the second place team. If they're in second, they will play the second place team from one of the AFC divisions that you don't play. If they play the East, then either the West, the North, or the South, one of those teams, and that rotates every 3 years as well. So it's completely formulaic. They don't make up the schedule every single year. There is a exact formula for the teams that you play, which is why as soon as your season is over, you know exactly the teams that you're going to play every single year. We already will know, like if you go out and look right now, you will know what 4 AFC teams you play next year. You will know which NFC division that you play against next year, and you'll know the 6 games, obviously, that you play in your division. So you can go out there right now and find the 14 teams, 14 of the 17 games that you play next year. So 6 in the division, 4 against one division, 4 against the other. So yeah, 14 of the 17 games next year, you can already find out who they play. So just formulaic. And it just so happens that, obviously, again, 1 every 3 years, they'll play the Rams no matter what. And a lot of times they're falling within the same record, which is why they play the Rams in some of those off years. You think if the Jets trade for Adams, they make it a 3-teamer with Doubs going to the Raiders and the Packers get Mike Williams. There was a report he could be on the move if they get Adams. You don't see 3-team trades very much in the NFL, so probably not. Not sure Green Bay would have a ton of interest in a Mike Williams trade anyway. So no, I don't see that happening. I like the creativity, purple pill, but no, I don't see anything like that. It's a shame we don't get Brett Rippon this time around. Yeah, that'd certainly be nicer. But you know what? Go and beat Matthew Stafford. You're a good enough team. You should win this game no matter what. You don't need it to be a Brett Rippon game. Just go out and get the W. Badgers looked great yesterday. I didn't get to see any of that, but yeah, that was a shocking score when I pulled it up. That is for sure. Settle into a rhythm, workman-like performance. I agree with that. This might have been answered already, but who do you expect to step up at wide receiver today? Bo Melton is definitely one that I expect to step up, but Reed should still have a big game. And I definitely think Heath and Wicks are certainly more than capable as well. So, but I think Melton can step into a role very, very nicely in this one. All right, going to get to some member chats the rest of the way. If you have any other super chats, I will get those in. Otherwise, I'm going to start getting wrapped up here so we can get ready for the noon games and watch the end of this Jets game, which is very good. Would you like to be the HRM for the Green Bay Packers? HRM. What am I? Why am I not thinking this? Human resources manager. Oh, yeah. No, I have no interest in that. I was thinking of like a football term. Can't I? Now I get it, but no interest in that. I'm very happy in the job that I'm in right now. Going into the season, I was a little concerned about center and right guard. How do you feel about the performance for those positions thus far? Awesome. I legitimately believe that Josh Myers is actually now playing the best football of his career. And we're not hearing it this year, but I legitimately believe that is the case. And Sean Ryan has been absolutely awesome through the last 2 games where he got to play in its entirety. So feeling very, very good about those 2 spots, especially over the last couple games. Do you think the trenches should be our main focus for the early draft talk? Let's see. TJ Slayton probably gone, right? Preston Smith probably gone. Rashawn's not playing great. LVN hasn't lived up to expectations. And Igbari is an interesting question. Oh, just missed that throw to Wilson. Yeah, I definitely think defensive line could be an early draft need. And then I think you're always looking for more offensive linemen. So yeah, definitely think that could be the case. Gameboy 36. Packers headquarters want to wish an easy and healthy experience to anybody else in the community participating in Sober October for any substance. Thank you for your content. That's always a great distraction. You are more than welcome. On a lighter note, do we think McKinney keeps the streak going today? I wonder the record for most straight games to start a season with a pick from a single player. I thought I heard 5, but maybe that was just 5 consecutive games with a pick. But either way, I would be happy to see him keep it going. He's going to be put in, I'm sure, some playmaking positions. And regardless of who gets it, I hope Green Bay is able to get some turnovers in this one. Big completion from Rodgers to Garrett Wilson. Jets are cooking a little bit right now. What is it? Did they mark it a first down? 1 minute 18. Clock is ticking. They haven't marked it yet. 3rd down. So they mark them a little bit short. Minute 13 left. 3rd and about 1 yard to go. Huge play here coming up. 108. Jets still have 2 timeouts. So clock really not a major issue here. The hand to Breece Hall. He picks up a first down to about the 26. No timeout yet. 58 seconds. Clock is ticking. Jordan Morgan should have a competition with Rashid so that we win either way. Walker either becomes more disciplined or Morgan becomes a starter and makes the pick worth it. I think Rashid's the starter there. I think he's going to be a really good left tackle. I don't mind if they want to, start getting Jordan Morgan cross-trained at other positions, but I still believe in Rashid Walker as the starting left tackle. King Kermit 01, thank you for this and being a member for 2 months. Members content has been awesome lately, Andy. You guys keep up the great work. In my opinion, all the Romeo stuff is being overblown. He's a dog, wishing him the best and hope he's okay. I mean, I don't know how much it can be overblown. He literally just got suspended by the team for a game where they could have really used him. So I don't think it's overblown, but let's just see how everything comes out of it next week. And if it ends up being just a blip in the radar, one game missed and everyone's better from it, awesome. Like no harm, some harm, but mostly no harm, no foul. And I think everyone can just move past it, and hopefully that's the case. But again, I don't think it's completely overblown or anything like that. But appreciate the comment, King Kermit. And if anyone has not checked out members only content yet, you really should. Today's a great day to get signed up. Members only Q&A. Aaron Rodgers. Oh, I thought he was going to catch that. Probably smart not to. All right. I'm here at the tailgate at SoFi. I had to drop in real quick. Go Pack Go. Lots of Packers fans here. Love to hear it. Enjoy the game, Chris C. The Van Ginkel interception was gorgeous, by the way, just getting here and had to say that, man, he was, I talked about in the offseason, one of my favorite signings for any team, and he fits that defense so perfectly. Really smart signing from them. Have fun, Chris. Rep the pack proudly. I am sure he will. What creative offensive formations are you hoping to see today? Sans, Dobb, Watson, and Musgrave. I don't think they need to get creative. I would still like to see a little bit of pistol. I'd like to see some running that they did against Indianapolis. Love to see some bootlegs for Jordan if he's mobile enough to do it. And I think the 2 tight end sets with Sims and Kraft can be lucrative for them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Any other games you're interested in watching today? I'm interested in watching the end of this one. This is a really great ending to this one. 3rd and 10, Jets, 49 seconds left in scoring range. Need a touchdown to win. Rendered with a big win against Fashanu there. Almost takes down Rodgers. Well, does take him down, but doesn't get the sack. But yeah, this is a big one. I have to go and look again. I haven't really taken a look too much at the schedule this week. I think there's a really good noon game, is there not? I thought there was. Bills Texans is the big one at noon. The 3 o'clock slate is not very good, if we're being honest, which is kind of nice knowing that we get the Packers game at that slate. Steelers Cowboys is okay. I think Saints Chiefs will be good. So I'd probably say Saints Chiefs, and then is that picked? That was picked. Game over. Vikings win. Aaron ends it with an interception. Wide receiver never got his head turned. Never, ever got his head turned. It's over. I think he picked it off. It looks clean. We'll see the replay here in a second. But Jets are going to fall to 2-3. Vikings are going to go to 5-0 if this interception stands. Certainly looks like it's going to. I didn't see the receiver on that one. If that was Lazard or somebody else. I don't think it was Wilson. Rodgers not happy with the ref. It didn't look like there was much there, though. It was Mike Williams. And that's a clean pick. That's a clean pick. That is ball game. Vikings win. Throws a jump ball to Mike Williams, who never gets his head turned around. Definitely some contact there at the catch point, but if Mike Williams isn't even looking for the ball, that's a tough flag to throw. He's not even involved in the play. Yeah, I don't know. Game over either way. Thanks for the awesome work, Kenji. Really appreciate that. Get a couple more member questions in here. Sorry, I just lost my spot here. There we go. Of the guys scheduled to become a free agent this year, are there any that you believe are must resign? Who do you believe should be prioritized? I don't. I mean, Myers and Slayton were the big ones. I'm just going to check the list really quick here. So Stokes is not a priority. Dillon, certainly not a priority. Corey Ballantyne, not a priority. Josh Myers, Eric Wilson, Andre Dillard, Tyler Davis, Zane Anderson, TJ Slayton, Isaiah McDuffie. I mean, they maybe bring back McDuffie on a cheaper deal. Myers is an interesting conversation with the way that he's playing, but they have replacement options on the roster. Slayton is an interesting conversation, but no, I don't think there's any of the unrestricted free agents. And then exclusive rights are easy. So they'll get Aaron Mosby, Jonathan Ford, Bo Melton, Daniel Whalen, Emmanuel Wilson, and Kadeem Telford all back on super cheap deals. So no, their exclusive rights free agents are primarily their more key ones. And maybe bring back McDuffie. They'll have a conversation with Myers, I'm sure. Maybe talk about Slayton, but I don't think there's anything that's really a priority. Weird not calling up Hicks for wide receivers seems light. I definitely would have expected them to pull up a fifth, to be honest, but I don't think it's a weird concept at all. They don't go 5 wides. If they do go complete spread, usually Jacobs or a tight end are involved in that. So usually they're not coming out in a 5 wide receiver set. It's not something they do. They rarely go in 4 wide receiver sets. It's almost entirely 11 personnel. And then again, Tucker Kraft or whatever in a running back in the game. So they don't really do any 4 wide receiver sets. Even if they have a few plays in the game plan for 4 wide and all of a sudden one of the guys gets hurt, you're not really like behind the eight ball by not having the fourth wide receiver out there. And you, again, your best lineup in this one is your three wide receivers, Tucker Kraft and Josh Jacobs. So I actually don't think it affects them. The only way it would have helped is maybe if it gives you a little bit more depth and they felt like one of those three wide receivers they called up would have been able to be key pieces on special teams. But if they really felt like they didn't need them on teams, it doesn't really affect anything unless you have two wide receivers get hurt. That'd be really the only situation where this is a bad situation. And listen, maybe we could see some Keyshawn Nixon for a couple plays. I know he's frustrated with no kick returns. Maybe we could see Keyshawn Nixon on a couple plays on offense as well. Wouldn't completely put it by him. What are your Luigi Pizza rules for basketball and baseball? Are victory pizzas reserved for playoff wins, series wins? You know, Donald, I haven't ever put any rules together for victories with basketball or baseball, but I wouldn't put it past me. But right now, more set aside for victory Mondays or victory day games during the day, I should say. But hopefully we get a Luigi's victory pizza today. Any props for today? No, I didn't really look at it too much, to be honest. I might put some out a little bit later out there on Twitter. So keep an eye out for that. For the draft next year in Green Bay, do you know if we need tickets or anything to be in a Packers section? Just curious if you might know if something's been mentioned to you. Have not seen anything on it yet. Game Boy 36. How'd your son do on the pitch on Friday? Practice was good on Friday. He had 2 games yesterday. He did really well in both games. He actually played with a team he had never played with before yesterday, never even practiced with them, was a guest player on the team. And first game he went in, they won 2-0, had the assist on the first goal and set up the second goal. And then they played a second game, was a tournament that he was helping out for. They tied that game 3-3. He scored the first goal and scored the third goal, the game tying goal with about a minute left. So was super proud of him for never even meeting the players on the team before, much less practicing with them, much less playing with them. To go in and be able to make any impact was super cool. Much less their team scored 5 goals in the 2 games combined, and he scored 2 of them, assisted 1, and basically set up the other. So was really proud of him. Made an impact, which is all I was asking for. I thought it was a really cool experience for him. And then he's actually got a game coming up. I'm bummed I'm gonna have to miss it because of the Packer game, but he's got a game coming up in Neenah in about an hour and a half here. So hopefully goes and tears up that one as well. All right. Make sure you go tell the crew how good they've been, Andy. Enjoyed all the co-hosts and guests you've brought on, but Ross has established himself as my second favorite. Daily draft was so good. I will definitely do so, King Kermit. Appreciate that. Also enjoy the weekly offensive and defensive previews. Yeah, Ross is killing it with those. I'm feeling a Packers bounce back. Let's go. Green Ranger. Absolutely love it. Love the Green Ranger icon as well. All right, friends. Think that's it. Unfortunately, the Vikings are 5-0. Green Bay will have to do everything they can to keep pace on this one, get to 3-2, and hopefully stay in the NFC North race here. 2-3 would be really tough when the Vikings start at 5-0, to say the least. And you've got that Detroit Lions team who is off today, early bye week, who are going to go out and obviously get some rest this week, but they're going to be a very tough team to deal with as the season goes along as well. So not a must win today for Green Bay, but definitely one that Green Bay could really, really use. Did you take your son out for a victory? Luigi's Pizza. Also love the chat today and love you guys. Go Pack Go, and Minnesota needs to lose some games. They will. Listen, Minnesota loves to do that. They're saving all of their heartbreaking losses for the end of the year. So we can look forward to that as the season goes on. Thanks, Andy. Love your content, and good luck to your son. Thank you for that, Green Ranger. Appreciate it a ton. I'm sure he'll go out and tear it up today. You guys are the absolute best. Enjoy game day. We've got 7 hours of commercial-free football starting in 3 minutes. Packers game coming up at 3:20, 3:25. Is it official? 3:25. So 3:25 kick for Green Bay. I will do a post game as soon as the game is done. So keep an eye out for that. But have a great day, everyone. Enjoy the Packers. Hopefully victory, and we will talk about it as soon as the game is over right here on the YouTube channel. Love you guys. Until next time. And as always, go Pack Go.